And we're back here at the Purple Menace podcast presented by Dutchess Burgers. I'm Ryan Osborne, your host with the owner and publisher of PurpleMenace.com, Billy Wessels. Billy, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. You know, we're sitting here, we're sitting on the back patio, Josh, the glorious back patio. Got some fans out here tonight, taking a little football and taking advantage of the $4 pitchers we have tonight here at Dutchess on Thursdays.
$4 domestics
Uh,
each Thursday night.
But we're also watching about to be the kickoff of the 2013 NFL season. Looks like the Broncos and Ravens are finally about to kick off. There've been some weather delays apparently, and I think the season's going to begin the way it's going to end with a weather delay in the Super Bowl, because there's no chance the Super Bowl in New York does not have a weather delay in it, because it's going to be
You should have
snowing.
referenced that on your tweet. I was sort of confused. I don't have the analytical skills to.
Every
up on that
football fan
analogy.
should know the 2014 Super Bowl will be in New York, at the New York Jets, New York Giants, MetLife Stadium.
Enough of this NFL talk.
Okay.
Yeah,
We've
enough
had
of
enough
NFL
of these
talk.
people that are getting officially paid to play
Although
football.
I am excited for the NFL season, the fantasy football season.
Do you have anyone playing in this game tonight? You got
I do
any
not.
teams?
All my players are unlocked. I got two big trades going through tomorrow.
Ooh, big
Gonna make it
trades.
happen this weekend. Looking back, TCU lost to LSU over the weekend, 37-27. And
They lost to basically a fantasy football defense.
They did. They lost to, I guess, what was the defense back in the day? The Eagles defense that dominated the late 2000s in fantasy football. That was the type of level defense we saw from LSU. How do you think TCU responded to that? Over the course of 4 quarters, they got close there, but was it really as close as it got? Halfway through the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was a field goal game with about 8 minutes to go, and TCU had the ball at the 50, but it never really felt that close, in my opinion. I felt like LSU was really taking advantage of their opportunities, and TCU was leaving points on the field and couldn't punch in their chances. And you can't do that against a team like LSU if you want to pull off a big upset like that.
Yeah.
You've got to score all the points you can. You can't leave anything out there.
It was an uphill struggle. It really was. And I don't think that's any knock on TCU. I don't think that's any indication how TCU's season's going to go against the Big 12. LSU is really good. Patterson said it Sunday. They're really good at defense. They're really good at defense. They are. It's probably the best defense they'll play all season. The most athletic team, I think, on both sides of the ball. What they brought with their receivers, the physical nature of them, and Patterson warned us about it, leading up to this game. But they competed and they got it close. There's still some offensive wrinkles they have to work out, despite LSU's defense being at the level it is.
Yeah, there's still obviously plenty of work to do. It was only game 1 of a 12-game season, though, so there's definitely more progress to do, and they've got some work to do on their quarterback situation in particular. See how they're going to handle that going forward. Obviously, Case is getting the start here, but I think getting a little more clarity on when they're going to use the guys might help a little bit too.
Yeah, I think I don't know if there's indecision. I think the team understands that they could go to either guy at any point in the game, and that's what they did Saturday against LSU. They went to Boykin when they felt they needed to. But what I would like to see, what I think a lot of TCU fans would like to see is Paul Hall being able to get open it up in the passing game more than he did. They didn't throw the ball down the field, and when they did, he threw an interception and it gets pulled.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the strategy that's going to win them the Big 12, to be honest. But I'll leave that to the smarter minds in play here, which they definitely
That's a much
are.
longer list than the other way on that. But I think I want to see them open the ball up a little more. But it's tough against a team like that where you really have to worry about ball control. Being able to protect the football, and that's something you maybe have to worry about a little bit less this week in Southeast Louisiana, which, that's always a struggle. That sounds terrible when I say it like that, but I think as a team you really want to play more conservative against a team like LSU and take advantage of opportunities.
You do.
And you can set up plays against other teams they have on the schedule, like in Southeast Louisiana. You can really maybe air it out a little bit more. You can maybe pull out some different things in your playbook you can't use against a team like LSU.
Yeah, looking forward to Southeastern Louisiana this week, and I'm not sure if many TC fans are looking forward to, but looking forward,
they're looking forward to a win.
No, I think a lot of TCU fans want them to get back into an offensive rhythm and get out of the game with no injuries, get ready for a short week against Texas Tech. What are your realistic expectations if you're a TCU fan for this week and you're playing an FCS opponent? You beat them by 70, you're not getting much out of it.
No.
You're in a position where there's a lot more to lose than gain here.
Right, absolutely. If I'm a TCU coach here, if I'm Patterson, I probably give Paha a quarter, Boykin a quarter, just to kind of get in a little. Maybe you alternate series. Maybe you use them each for a drive, then a drive, then a drive, then a drive. And then I think you see I want to see some Tyler Matthews this game. I want to see him in the second half really get to play a little bit. And I think if TCU's even up 40 at halftime. I want to see him go out and throw the ball a little bit and get his feet wet, get what he wants to do out there.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine. I think that'd be good. Give him some reps. But as far as the issue between Boykin or Paul Hall or Boykin, when are you going to use them? What can we even get out of this game that could be an indication for how it's going to play out the rest of the season?
Nothing. This won't really affect that. And I think we already know the situation. We know it's going to be Paul Hall starting, and Boykin used sparingly when his mobility is more of an edge than Paul's arm. And not that Boykin doesn't have an arm. He completed one really deep pass on Saturday against LSU, and he seemed to do just fine. So I think it's really just a matter of when Patterson feels like using that secret weapon almost with Boykin. I think he can use it really well.
Agree or disagree with this, but I don't think Boykin is the answer, and I don't think using him the way they used him against LSU is the answer. I think he provided a spark, but when it came down to converting third downs in opponent's territory, moving the football, capitalizing with touchdowns, he reverted right back to what he was last season. It was inefficient inside opponent's territory. He was not able to put the period on the end of the sentence. He could give you the burst. He could give you the big play.
He can give you the commas, but he can't give you the periods, like you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, he could not, Paul Hall, at his peak, when they turn him loose, they let him throw the ball down the field. He is a guy who's going to do what he did against Boise State, which definitely was not, not on the same playing field as far as defensive wise as LSU. But when you let him open up, he's going to make plays. He's the best quarterback in the conference when he has the play calling to back that.
Well, yeah, and you say Boykin's not the answer. I don't know what the question is really, because he's not the starting quarterback.
I think the
team.
question is scoring touchdowns. I don't think they've done a good job at that the past 2 seasons.
Well, yeah. Well, Boykin kind of got thrown into the rubble last year, thrown into a tough situation, and I really do think. I think he needs a little more experience. He's really raw still, clearly really raw, and you can't really blame the LSU game on him.
I'm not blaming anything on Boykin. I'm saying I don't think he's the answer. And of course, formulating that question is a whole other issue.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't like Jeopardy. We don't have the question here, but I think it's just a matter of getting them both experience, getting them both reps, getting them both a little more comfortable. Getting a home game, getting the home crowd behind will be key too.
I do.
It'll be 99% TCU fans. You might see a little spattering of green and yellow. I think that's SLU's color.
Green
and gold. Yeah,
gold.
Don't say it's yellow.
Don't call it yellow. I went to high school. It was green and gold and black.
Us Louisiana kids don't like it when you call that yellow. So.
From your perspective in the press box, I know you're sitting in Southlake up there, so far away, but Boykin's throwing motion, has it actually gotten better?
On some passes, when he had time, it looked fine. When he didn't have time and he rushed it, when he didn't have time, he tucked it and ran it on first instinct.
Then I don't think it's gotten better.
No, I think that's still going to be what he is here. So, just from the little bit I saw in practice and what I hear from Patterson, he has gotten better. He really is going to be – he's taking the next steps necessary to become a legit college quarterback, but he's not a starter, not yet anyway. And he doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be a Boykin hater in this situation, but I think I've been a firm believer since Paul Hall, what he did against Baylor in 2011. When Paul Hall is at his peak, he's as good as anyone in the conference. He's as good. He gives TCU so many options on offense, and he has the ability to take over a ball game. He really does.
But he hadn't had a chance to get into a rhythm
I know,
yet.
that's the key.
He hadn't played a game in 9 months, 10 months, or whatever it was. So I think giving him a chance to open up a little bit more this week, let him go 10 for 10 against South Louisiana like he did last year against Grambling, I think it was. Let him go 10 for 10, get out of the game, and go from there. Let him get into a rhythm and get ready for Texas Tech.
Southeastern Louisiana is from Hammond, Louisiana. I'm not too familiar with those parts, but you might be, Billy. It's actually just east of Baton Rouge, so they're kind of taking out the southeast Louisiana swing to start the season.
Yeah, we just got to play Tulane. Old was that WAC? Was that Conference USA days? I think we were in Tulane's conference. I don't remember.
Yeah.
WAC maybe. They were in there. Yeah. I know they're in Conference USA now, but it's all so mumbo jumbo now. But yeah, they're missing Tulane, which is technically in New Orleans, which is the only school in New Orleans. Not the only school. There's a couple smaller ones. The only D1 football program down there. So I think it's good. And I think this is actually pretty good recruiting-wise, playing a couple LSU schools. We've seen some really good talent coming out of Louisiana lately, namely on TCU's team already. You got Chucky Hunter. who's the biggest one, and Terrell
I mean,
Latham.
the Monroe pipeline,
Yeah.
so to speak, and that's something that LSU tries to tap into, and TCU's sort of been pushing back on that.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize that when TCU's going into Monroe, they're going up against LSU in a recruiting matter. They really
That's
are,
SEC
especially
country.
yeah.
Anything inside the state of Louisiana is SEC country. As much as A&M wants to say Texas is SEC country now, they're still Big 12 country, and they still want to play for Texas and Oklahoma. But winning in Louisiana, these people have grown up rooting for LSU, and that's about it. LSU or Bama or whatever.
Yeah.
That's who they want to go to. So when you're taking Chucky Hunter, you're taking him away from LSU's.
Yeah.
It's Tevin Lawson, who they actually took from LSU.
Yeah, they actually did. I mean, he was a late flip. It was sort of a decommit situation, but he still had an opportunity to go to LSU, and he chose TCU. Moving on to Southeastern Louisiana, what they bring offensively, I think a lot of TCU fans, if they don't already, they're going to be somewhat caught off guard by a team that Patterson says they're going to throw every formation out there, and they have the quarterback and Bryant Bennett to do it.
Yeah.
An Oregon transfer, a four-star recruit from California. He just got stuck behind Darren Thomas, got stuck behind Marcus Mariota, and he was productive last season for the Ducks. Running the football, sort of using like what we might see Boykin in this year.
Oh yeah, definitely. He is a very good quarterback, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. Fans who show up who aren't paying attention will definitely be surprised, and they shouldn't be surprised if SLU maybe the first couple plays of the game they pick up 20 yards of play and just like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And TCU will have to adjust to it. This quarterback is something special. He is an impressive player. But I'm looking at their team right now. I got their roster in front of me, and the biggest thing for them is going to be, say, the right side of their offensive line. Taylor Romero, their starting right guard, is a true freshman, 6'2", 280. Right tackle Jonathan Braddock is a junior, but he's 6'4", 275. Not a lot of size on that right side. So you look at the left end. Maybe Fields plays. Maybe he has a field day. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
But that'll be interesting to see how. I think that's really the big matchup of this game is how Romero and Braddock can handle Hunter and Pearson or Lathan or Fields if he gets in this game.
Straight up, this TCU should completely outmatch Southeast Louisiana. But I think the key for TCU is, obviously we talked about not getting anyone hurt, getting a clean win.
And not looking past anybody.
Yeah, not looking past them and avoiding breakdowns in the secondary and in even the mid-level. These linebackers are still, they bring a little bit more bulk. The three linebackers they play, Jonathan Anderson, Marcus Mallett, Paul Dawson. But athleticism, I think Patterson wants to see a little bit more as far as moving around, covering guys. And you get a guy like Brian Bennett into the second level, he could cause headaches for your linebacker, regardless if he's playing for an FCS team or Oregon.
Didn't he say you're going to see Sammy Douglas this week too?
Yeah, I think Sammy Douglas, possibly Paul Whitmore will also play a little bit more. Denzel Johnson, we'll see him in the secondary. Both of those guys are going to play a lot on special teams.
I'm excited to see Denzel Johnson. I really am. He's been a guy I've been keeping an eye on. He just looks like an absolute beast. So can't wait to see what he does out there. If he gets some playing, he'll get some playing. When he gets some playing time out there, make a difference. That's really the biggest things to watch for them. I think their defense actually isn't too terrible. A lot of juniors and sophomores on that defense, so maybe some inexperience. Their corners are pretty solid. Their biggest player, I think, is one of their cornerbacks, and I just had it here. Yeah, Todd Washington, senior defensive back, big guy. 2 pass breakups last week. He's an All-Southland Conference guy last season. 9 total pass breakups last year. So he's a really talented cornerback.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's the guy you want to keep an eye on there.
And also on defense, their linebacker transfer from Texas Tech. He's actually on the Butkus Award watch list. And that's the award for the best linebacker in the country, regardless of division. I can't say his first name.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how to pronounce that. Cquulin.
Culin Hubert.
Culin? Yeah, Culin's on the bar, right? Culin Hubert.
Hubert
might be Hubert.
He was at Texas Tech, though. He's a Big 12 player,
he's a tech guy
Big 12
from Houston.
Talent, FBS talent. You see that a lot popping up in FCS programs. A lot of transfers, guys looking for playing time. So keep an eye out this week for guys like that. Bennett, Hubert. I think there's another.
Washington.
Cody Sutton is their transfer running back from Wyoming.
I saw him play. So when he was at Texarkana, Texas High, that dude's fast. That dude can play. So definitely going to be a fun matchup to watch. TCU should win. They're favored. What'd you say, 43?
43-point favorite right now. I think a couple got them at 43.5, 42.5.
I don't think Patterson doesn't want to run up the score. It's not his style. So
I don't know if they'll cut. You're right. I think a 43 point.
He doesn't want to run up the score, but 43 is a lot of points. I don't think they'd win by 43 anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this game should be won comfortably by TCU, and it will definitely be won comfortably, I think. if Devontae Fields plays. And do any of us know if that's going to happen after Tuesday's
No
press
one
conference
has
confusion?
any idea.
Uh,
That was mayhem.
To recap, Patterson basically opened the door for him to either sit Saturday, play a half Saturday, play Saturday, sit another game. It's definitely going to be a 2-game suspension. Now it's just a matter of when. But I think Patterson has a valid point. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for him to sit out against Southeast Louisiana and then go into Texas Tech cold with a short week.
No, absolutely not. And I think wholeheartedly, you know what? I've kind of got a weird theory on what happens with Fields this game. I think he sits the first half. There's half of his 1-game suspension. I think he plays the third quarter and then sits the fourth quarter. I think he gets a little bit of hitting, a little bit of bumping in there, and then you sit him for the fourth quarter and just say, all right, those are your touches. And that way, further on, they say that TCU plays SMU or Kansas and they're up by 30 in the second half. You can sit him for a quarter. Oh, that's the end of his suspension right there.
Yeah.
But I think it's something you just got to get out of the way. I agree. You don't want to go in cold. But at the same time, if you give him a 2-game suspension, it should be the first 2 games. I don't like this game and a half, whatever. Maybe he sends him for the first 3 quarters and says, all right, you can play the fourth because we're rounding up at a game in 3 quarters.
Yeah. I think the easy solution here, we talked about this after the presser Tuesday, just give him just gave him a 1-game suspension.
Yeah.
Because they do not need him to win Saturday against Southeast
They
Louisiana.
suspended him for the game that mattered. He made his point.
Yeah, you could call us homers, but I think there's nothing morally wrong with playing him Saturday. There isn't.
I don't think so. I think the point was plenty well made by sitting him against LSU, the toughest team you're going to play all year. So I'd have no problem with him playing at all against Southeast Louisiana, playing the whole game against Southeast Louisiana, which that's not going to happen anyway. But I'd have no problem with him getting in the game at all.
Props to Patterson for really, obviously sticking to his word. I think he sort of got,
he got caught up in.
He got caught up, and I think he was sort of, maybe there were fears that there would be some backlash if Fields played, especially against LSU. And I think that was a valid fear. But against Southeastern Louisiana, he served his time. He served 135 hours of community service, and he was approved to play by the university. I just think I think Patterson.
I think he plays him. He's gonna have quote unquote bad PR for 2 days, and then people are gonna care about the Texas.
This will blow over.
Yeah, this will blow over. No
Louisiana.
The big thing is he sat him for LSU, and that's commendable, like extremely commendable, because I think that's a different ball game if he plays. Considering TCU couldn't get a pass rush at all in there.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it was a 10-point game, but the difference of getting that pass rush could have been big against Texas Tech. I think having Fields against Texas Tech gives him a big advantage, especially on the road in a game that you really can't afford to slip up and be a trap game. They are more talented than the Texas Tech. They just have to go in there, a tough environment, get the win. But that's next week.
Yep.
And we don't look forward.
Don't look ahead.
We don't overlook. But what other storylines are you seeing though coming out of LSU going into Southeastern Louisiana?
I think you need to see a receiver get 8 catches this game.
I think you're right.
Get 8 catches and 110, 115 yards.
Yeah.
And a touchdown. I think you need someone to step up. Obviously, I'm a walk city guy. I'd love to see Ladarius Brown be that guy to step up and do it. And he definitely has the capability and the size and everything to do it. I'm still a little worried about Brandon Carter. I think he has the ability. I don't know if he has the size to be a true game-changing guy.
You think his hand is bothering him?
I think it is a little bit. I think he's not 100%.
I don't know.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't know. I was confused when he had hand surgery and then came back 4 days later. I don't know if he had surgery.
Yeah, that's unofficial, but
that's definitely unofficial.
I heard this injury when I initially heard about it. I heard it was much more severe than a 4-day injury. I heard more like a 4-week injury.
But why would they bring him back that early? Still that early before the season?
I really think they wanted to mess with LSU a little bit, and I think that really did backfire by messing with LSU, putting him out there. But he had a couple catches in the game too. So it seems like it's not. He may not be 100%, but he's definitely no worse than probably 75%.
Yeah. And the fumble on the kickoff, I think that was just a fumble. I think a lot of people are trying to pin that on his hand.
That was just hanging the ball out because he does that sometimes, just hangs the ball out there loose. Whatever. So,
but you're right. They need a receiver to step up and get into a rhythm. Bryce Lenina, this could be a big game for him.
Well, he's got the injury issue. He rolled his ankle, didn't he?
Yeah, but he apparently was
75%.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they probably will be cautious with him.
Yeah.
But I still think, he had a decent game, but I don't think any receiver really had that great of a game Saturday.
No, absolutely not.
I would really like to see them throw the football down the field. I think that's the key. for
And if
Casey Paul to get going.
and if they get 8-10 catches here against a team like South Louisiana, sure that might not be saying much as far as the team they're playing, but it's big for their confidence. It's huge for their confidence, just so they can do it on the field with the big crowd against somebody.
You know how I love predictions, especially numbered predictions. I actually don't like them that much. But against
You hate 'em.
Southeastern Louisiana, I will let this slide. Billy, give me a number prediction for Saturday's game.
TCU
43 points spread, by the way.
TCU wins 45-14.
14. You think 14 points?
45-14. I think their quarterback's going to have to get them 14 points. They might come late. I think the quarterback's going to have to get them 14 points.
I think it's going to be 56-7.
Okay.
And I think Bennett will get them a touchdown. But I also think Bennett will get pulled because he is, a lot of their season in the FCS division is riding on this guy. No use keeping him in there getting banged up against probably
I
the
almost
best
think he wants to
defense in
prove
the
a
Big
point.
12.
I think he wants to prove that he can still play at a D1 level.
Maybe he does, but I think the coach that brought him in
absolutely.
there.
But I think he's going to play hard, and I think he wants to prove Oregon that, hey, you guys should have kept me. You should have let me play.
Well,
so, I don't know.
That's tough, though. It's almost like getting stuck. I don't want to compare Mariota to Johnny Manziel, but it's like getting stuck behind a Manziel, a guy who is basically locked into the position.
Kenny Hill, the South Lake Carroll guy who's down there, who's not going to. Well, I say that Manziel's going to be leaving. Manziel's leaving after this year, so whatever. So I think. It's a tough situation to be in. So I don't know. I think he's going to have to get them 2 touchdowns. Again, one might come. It wouldn't surprise me if they got one on the first drive. I'm like, oh my God, people are going to start freak out.
Yeah.
And then I could see him getting one in the third quarter when it's already a 5-touchdown game.
Yeah.
You want to get some predictions from fans? Hang on a second. Take the mic.
I got the mic. Billy is going on a search for fans.
It's not a hard search. We have fans. Hey, tell us.
We're looking for score predictions for the game, Southeastern Louisiana. We have tons of fans out here. We just it's hard picking one.
The TCU SLU game this weekend. What's your score prediction? What do you think it's going to be? First, drop your name, drop your Twitter if you got one.
Tyler Brenaman _ Brenaman.
Tyler Brenaman _ Brenaman.
Tyler
get that?
Brenaman, sorry.
Okay, gotcha.
Score prediction 49-7.
49-7. I like
TCU, right? Okay, just making sure.
You got to specify. What else score predictions, you guys? Step it up.
Thomas _ Brown 33. And I think it's about be 48-20, but
20 points.
First half.
Gary Patterson's defense.
First half is going to be very good.
You think it's going to be a little competitive?
Be close. I mean, they have some decent players.
Reminiscent of Portland
that Oregon
State.
transfer.
Remember that?
So we'll see. Absolutely. So we'll see.
Well, we appreciate the fan support, guys, and we appreciate the input.
Go finish that $4 pitcher of Dutchess. I see it's about 80% done with that one. You can fill up another half a glass with that.
We'll help you out afterward. We'll have to edit that out, actually. Let's talk a little bit of recruiting. A huge opportunity for TCU to show off its program. It's on a national scale, bringing in the tons of recruits. Cowboy AT&T Stadium last weekend. What were some big names that really stood out that TCU is really in play for here?
A couple of the big names that were there, in my opinion, Braden Smith. We'll get to him in a second.
Get to him in the war room. The good stuff.
War room.
But we'll tease you a little bit.
We'll tease you a little bit there. Make sure you check out the site for that. Braden Smith was there in attendance. Dalen Mack. I want to see the dinosaur in person. If you're not familiar with that reference, you got to go back and listen to the very first episode of this podcast.
No one's going to go back and find that.
Well, they should.
It involves a dream and a dinosaur.
I dreamt he was a dinosaur. So that's regardless.
That's it.
That's all I got to say. But so those two guys, and we got John Randall Belton's a kid I'm really high on. 2016 quarterback from West Monroe. Keep that pipeline going there. He said he's got LSU and TCU as his top 2 teams. That's really interesting.
It is.
Jonathan Alvarez, you talked to.
Is he a West Monroe kid, though?
Belton, yeah. He's a West Monroe kid. So I think a good chance to show their wares. And a couple of the guys, like Jerrison Stewart, 2015 guy with a TCU offer. I think they're really impressed with the fact that TCU was not blown out in that game. They hung around.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned this, but a kid named Jonathan Alvarez. He's a kid who's sort of been a fringe offer. I think that if he is offered, he might commit on the spot. I don't know on the spot, but he's sort of, TCU's, he's in TCU's favor at this point. But yeah, Dalen Mack, who will probably be, I don't know when
he might be a 5-star when the rankings come out.
He has the potential to be a 5-star and be a top 10 overall recruit in the country for the class of 2015. Braden Smith, probably some good news for Smith.
Our buddy's got something to say. You got something? You got
The fans
a
got a
question?
question?
Come over here. Come here. Yeah, what you got?
All right, question. How do you guys feel about the two quarterback system? Do you think it flusters Paul Hall when he's playing?
I don't think mentally there's actually an issue there with Paul. I think he understands that Boykin can play, but I mentioned this earlier. I don't think Boykin is the answer. I think having Paul Hall as your primary passer, getting him into a rhythm, getting him to where he's throwing the ball down the field is definitely the course TCU should take. But they feel like Boykin can give them a spark.
I feel the same way. I think I think it's actually not terrible. The old saying is, if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. But I think Boykin brings such a different element to the table, and he's sort of a secret weapon. He's someone that Patterson can just use at his own will. If you want, hey, we need someone on this drive to maybe change it up a little bit, maybe wear out the linebackers a little more, maybe get them going sideline to sideline. He can use that for a drive or two here and there. But I think Paul is ultimately your starting quarterback, and I think he still plays 85% of the snaps. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
I was interested because it was after Paul was sitting on the bench for about probably 30 minutes during the game.
It was over the course.
Came down to that third down, and like randomly, do you think that'll affect him in the future? Do you think they'll keep doing that?
I thought that
Or do
was
you
a
think it'll
last
just-
ditch effort.
Boykin
I
will
don't think
just be a
that's
spark.
When he came back on the field, well, he came back on the field when Boykin like he did a flip, and I think he landed funny on his head or back or something.
I didn't know it was injury.
Yeah. I don't think they ever said it was injury related, but he took a weird hit and fell funny. So I think that's why you saw Paul come back in there in the situation. So, and that's one of the things. If you were y'all at the game? Yeah, it's one thing that's pretty hard to tell unless you're watching on TV or up in the fancy press box with the comfy chairs and awesome food.
Where this guy gets to sit.
Yeah, I know, right? Air conditioned, it's glorious. So, cool.
That's going to be an issue moving forward. Boykin or Paul Hall or Boykin, how are you going to divvy up the reps? And I think we probably won't see that much of an indication of that this week against Texas Tech. That could be an indicator. How are we going to see this play out over the course of the Big 12 schedule?
Yep, and that's one of the keys for TCU the whole year. If the thing with the Big 12, there's always known for having good quarterbacks. TCU has arguably the best quarterback in the Big 12 with Paul. Now, they have a very confusing situation with Paul and Boykin and Paul's history and all that. But I think if he can just play, if he goes out and plays the whole first half against Southeast Louisiana, gets to a rhythm, goes 10 for 10, 12 for 12, 11 for 12, whatever, like he did last year against Grambling, those for 250 yards, those a touchdown or two, I think that'll clear him up straight, get his head back on, get him back in the rhythm of the game.
Definitely. Love the questions, guys. Love the discussion. This is the goal of the podcast, to get people out here talking, give their opinions, give their questions. We really do appreciate having everyone out. Hey, one more question.
One more. All right.
We got one more question.
Do you think this is going to be a trap game at all this weekend due to big LSU game and kind of a few stars on this team, the away team this year or this weekend?
Not in the sense that they'll lose the game. If they lose the game, it would be absolutely catastrophic. I don't see something like that happen. I consider a trap game something like Texas Tech, a team that you're clearly more talented than, but has the potential to beat you. But they cannot take this team lightly. Brian Bennett, what he could do with his feet in the running game at quarterback, that could cost them if they have breakdowns in coverage.
Yeah, I just don't know if their defense can be enough to stop TCU. No, but it is a trap game in the sense that you're coming off a high against LSU, not a high, but you're coming off a big game, and then you've got a short week, and then you've got another rivalry game against Texas Tech. So it depends on how you define trap. And after seeing what happened to Kansas State and what happened to USF and what happened to everyone else around the country, I would say. So I think TCU's well aware of what can happen, and I don't think they're going to look past anybody. So I think they know. So cool stuff.
We appreciate it, guys.
I appreciate it.
Every Thursday, come out here.
8 p.m. out here, back patio
8 p.m.,
Dutchess.
back patio.
Watch
Dutchess.
some
I
more
actually had chicken strips tonight.
Yeah, I saw that.
Spicy
It looked
chicken
good.
strips.
It looked good.
Almost delayed the start of the show, but they were very good, almost like a boneless chicken wing.
Yep.
A loaded item here at Dutch's Burgers.
Yeah. It's the very last item on the menu. I don't even know it was on here.
I'm sneaky like
You said
that.
you're going off menu. I was
Sneaky
surprised.
like that.
It's almost like In-N-Out. You got an animal style, too, I think.
Of course.
Yeah.
Braden Smith, TCU's
Braden
top target,
Smith.
offensive lineman out of Kansas City area. This is a guy who TCU is in good standing with right now. You'll find more details out tonight on the War Room. We'll have the full rundown, some very juicy information you might want to check out. But let's just say this would be a big get for TCU's 2014 class.
Yeah, and especially after losing a 4-star yesterday, we kind of glossed over that. Zach Henderson decided to decommit and open up his recruiting. Still has TCU in his top 6, whatever that's worth. I don't think either of us see him coming back to TCU. But Braden Smith will help ease that wound a little bit, and definitely this is something a really good offensive line recruiting class if we bring him in. You get him,
do.
Barrett,
Austin
Frank
Schlaven,
Key.
Frank Key.
Yeah, Frank Key.
Massive.
And I think Frank Key is the key to another defensive tackle coming
There
in.
you go.
I say this because I wrote a story on it today, and now I'm blanking on the kid's name. Find it shortly. Tucker, I think.
Kid from Tyler.
From Tyler JUCO, who's another Mansfield kid. So I think you're looking at really tabs. I think you're looking at a possible pipeline there, and this kid's big too, big, massive. He's starting to get recruited from TCU earlier in the spring and in the summer. So honestly, I do think we're in good shape to fill in that void at D tackle. It's tough to lose a 4-star guy, at least a guy that big of an athlete. But I think TCU still has the chance to pull together a pretty good recruiting class here.
Definitely. Well, I think we've overspent our welcome here at Dutchess. Probably not. There's no one really pushing us out
They love
here.
us here. There's no one pushing us out. And we're happy to be here with Dutchess, the best burger in Fort Worth.
Of course. But for Billy Wessels, I'm Ryan Osborne. Next week, 8 p.m. Actually not next week because there's a game next Thursday.
Oh, that's right.
TBA on the probably Wednesday. You think?
Well, we might bump it up to Wednesday. We'll see how things go. We'll let you know.
Tuesday's sort of tough.
CheckPurpleMenace.com.
We will
for the latest on the podcast next week. But yeah, although we bet having a watching party out here with fans. Are you going to Tech?
I am not going to Tech.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it either.
We might actually have something, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah, we'll
because they will definitely have the games on out here.
Yeah, check PurpleMenace.com. Check our Twitters. I'm at Billy Wessels, WESSELS. You're Ryan Osborne PM, Ryan Osborne After Dark.
Of course. And if you're an OU football fan, it's like Billy Wessels, the Heisman Trophy winner, but with a W.
The first time I saw his name, I was watching ESPN, and I saw Billy Wessels, and I did a legit double take. You see in the movies, like, wait, what?
1952.
Yeah, that was my boy. So there you go.
Well, for Billy Wessels, I'm Ryan Osborne. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming out next week in advance. If you